And I would like to take the opportunity to welcome Minister Kathleen Lynch to the House, because I have no doubts whatsoever as statements to the care of the elderly and to the provision of public long-stay beds. I also am glad that we're not going to personalise this debate this evening, and I'd like to, at the outset, to congratulate Senator McSharry, my colleague on the opposite benches, and his wife Maria on the recent birth of their daughter Isabel. So, with the
poison from the opposition.
I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak here on the debate this evening to voice my concern for the senior citizens of my community. I'm grateful to be here this evening to speak out not on behalf of the government but on behalf of the elderly and infirm in my locality to ensure that they do in fact get a fair deal. I'm thinking of people like Catherine Kelly, who's 93 from Collihill, Richard Phelan from Raheen, who's 99, will celebrate his 100th birthday in 2 weeks' time in Abbeyleix Hospital. Bridget O'Neill, a feisty 92-year-old, if I might say so, from Spink, and Jack Chester, an old friend of mine from Portlaoise, who's 89 years of age. These are the people and their families, and they know my form, and they know that I'm not trying it on or trying to use them to score some cheap political points or to turn their plight into a political football when I speak out in their defence. I would like to remind the House that it wasn't me who was booed and jeered on the platform in Abbeyleix. It was those who tried to turn the matter into a cheap political matter and to score political points. We don't need, nor will I listen to hear much longer to any more sarcastic sermons from the Fianna Fáil benches and crocodile tears for the elderly of Ireland.
What are you talking about?
I have seen the genuine tears.
You're obviously not going to
and the real torment and distress first-hand of elderly patients in their 90s clinging to the rails of their bed for fear of being moved out and not being allowed to return. Let's put the record straight, Lascahirlock, on a number of points. There is no decision to close either Abbeyleix or Shane Hospital. I believe that is a flawed HSE proposal and is fundamentally wrong.
It's the Minister's decision.
It's short-sighted, it's penny-wise and pound-foolish, and as such is now under active review by the Minister of Health himself. I don't envy the Minister his task. He's between a rock and a hard place, and as he put it so incisively this week himself, when he went to the cupboard, it wasn't that it was just bare, but it was full of unpaid bills. Bills left there, mind you, by Fianna Fáil after their booze up with the big builders and a 10-year jolly.
Well, look, you want to talk about the property developers in your own party now.
Do you want to go and have a word with your Minister?
And it's now falling to this government to clean up their mess.
What about East Galway? What is it about the Labour Party over there?
Strenuously oppose and object to any attempt to make the most vulnerable in our society, our elderly, to have to pay the price for Fianna Fáil and HSE mismanagement.
Do you know you're in government?
These old folks, I do. I will take responsibility for our decisions, not like you washing your hands of everything.
What he said in the Sunday Independent 2 weeks ago,
Senator.
These old folk have been through more than one recession, and the least they deserve is some comfort and consideration in the autumn of their years. It is also important that we are responsible, all of us, and take responsibility for our decisions and our policies. And when the time comes, this government will be judged on its record. But it is also necessary to put the current situation we're in and the threat to the community nursing homes into context. Firstly, the problem lies with a dysfunctional HSE to which there is no access, adequate consultation or accountability. The HSE, of course,
the Minister
is a creature and a creation of Fianna Fáil. The architect, none other than your own Micheál Martin,
they're accountable
who punches pilot like now, washes his hands of every decision and any responsibility for anything, including the mess.
Please stop interrupting.
And blames his officials.
I know that many on the Fianna Fáil benches share my concern over the mismanagement of the health services under the last government, when you're being honest about it. And the vigour which the last government pursued a privatisation strategy. So it's absolutely, it's crazy. Mary Harley was the champion. Your Minister for Health was the champion of a two-tier private health system.
Senator Byrne, without interrupting.
Let's be straight about one thing, Lascahirlock. The problems for Abbeyleix, Shane Hospital and many other community nursing homes around the country, like in Edenderry and in St Vincent's in Mountmellick did not start today or yesterday, or over the last 6 months for that matter. These hospitals have been run down for years. The standard practice is to run them down, wind them down and close them down.
Do about it.
The reality is that these hospitals have been under-resourced, understaffed and undermined for years. And all this happened in Lee Shoffley at a time that we had the Taoiseach himself in the constituency, and when we had the Minister of State responsible for elderly care in the constituency. So you couldn't even look after it in their own patch.
You should release a bestseller
when the country was awash with money. So you have the next now to start with your crocodile tears on this matter.
Yeah, good man. We expect a revolt. Is this your revolt? Is this your revolt?
There has been a lot of huff and puff in the House over recent week about lies, and I regard that as very strong and provocative and unnecessarily provocative language. But when it comes to lies, and the public have decided who the past masters are, and I'm not talking about some fibs and venial sins here. When it comes to lies, let us consider the original sin of all lies, the mortaler as it were, that the IMF are not in the country. Remember that one? Remember that fiction? Repeated by every cabinet minister in the Fianna Fáil government, right up to the Taoiseach himself. I would like to finish my contribution here this evening by reading a brief two-paragraph letter sent to the Minister Riley by Father Sean Kelly.
Read what you said in the Sunday
Just a short note. Father Kelly wrote to the Minister and said, just a short note on my return from my weekly visit to St Bridget's Hospital, Shane, Portlaoise, for mass and pastoral care. I know that your government administration has inherited a huge burden after the careless and irresponsible years of the outgoing group. Unfortunately, your job involves very difficult decisions.
Write that.
However, I also know for certain that the impending closure of St Bridget's Hospital is wrong and a mistake. It's wrong, Senator O'Brien, to impugn Father Kelly's not here.
No,
the reality is the priest is he's the chaplain to the hospital.
Just say no.
Time.
We cannot solve, Father Kelly wrote to the Minister, the problems created by greed, by such punishment of those with special needs. I was not surprised at all today to be greeted by tears and confusion. I only presume that you are badly advised and wrongly encouraged to make such a decision. The costings of this decision cannot be measured in finance alone. I speak sincerely for those with no voice and now no home. Thanks, Lasker.